Do you want to get into real estate but don't know where to start? Do you wonder how others are living rent free? I promise by the end of this episode, you'll learn an insight into how others own rentals, made mistakes, recovered, find out how they started in real estate and how working with others helped them to grow in the space. Find out all that and more today, where we provide real estate investors with the tools to achieve generational wealth. Welcome to the Aim High podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans. Good day, high flyers, and welcome to the Aim High podcast. Today we are here with Alicia and Jill. Ladies, how you doing today?
Very good. Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. You're serial entrepreneurs. I do appreciate that. I really wanted to get you on the show. So thank you very much for coming on. And if you wouldn't mind giving me a brief introduction about yourselves.
Absolutely. So I'm Alicia, and that's Jill Smith. And we've been in business together for a long time. We're also married, but we started out doing music together. I used to be a full-time musician touring professionally for many years. And I met Jill and she actually started managing our band. We toured the world and then fell in love and then decided that we needed to do something a little more financially lucrative instead of music to support us and our family. So we took the business acumen and hustle that we had and applied it toward opening up cannabis dispensaries in Oregon. So basically, we were living in Texas and we had just signed a lease in Dallas. I think we had lived in this apartment for 2 months and saw this opportunity in Oregon. We didn't know where we were going to get the money, where we were going to find a space, how on earth to run a dispensary. We knew a little bit about cannabis. That was about it. And so we packed up our car. We had one car at the time and our 2 dogs. We drove across the country and stayed in an Airbnb and basically bombarded this landlord and realtor to actually rent a space to us, because at the time, landlords were very reluctant to lease to cannabis for a variety of reasons. First reason, and I bring this up because this is very relative to real estate, is because it's still, even to this day, federally illegal. You can't get traditional lending on a building that leases to a cannabis dispensary. So you had to find a landlord who owned a building outright. Typically, that was a much older gentleman who tended to not be very cannabis friendly.
Yeah.
And then you had all of these zoning requirements. So it was like a needle in a haystack to find a space. And we ended up we called a number for a space we thought was great. It was right next to a grocery store across the street from a bar. And the woman we had a great rapport with on the phone, and she asked what industry we're in. And we said cannabis. And she said, sorry, you won't do it. Hangs up on us. So then Jill called back 10 minutes later, trying to charm her, and asked the same thing, cannabis. You guys just called me.
And we're like, yeah.
We're just trying to understand what his concerns are. And he just doesn't feel comfortable with it. And so in Jill and Alicia fashion, we didn't take no for an answer. So we drove 45 minutes away to this woman's office, got in our finest attire. But we had a Beagle Basset at the time named Pirate, who was a very loud dog. And the Airbnb we were staying in would not allow us to leave him when we left. So we had to bring Pirate and Milo the Chihuahua with us to a realtor office when we don't have an appointment. So we just show up in the space and you just hear Pirate howling outside as we're walking in. Okay. And we get to the front desk and the woman, do you guys have an appointment with someone? We're like, we're just going to go ahead and wait for Micah. Yeah, that was her name. And so the lady was just looking at us crazy. And we were just like, yeah, we just wanted to talk to her. So we just sat there. She comes out and she's, can I help you guys? We introduced ourselves. She's, are you guys crazy? Like, I told you no. And we were just like, look, we just wanted you to realize that we're very legitimate business people. And I'm just hoping that you could set up, may I send you an email explaining what we do, a little bit about our company. And all I want is to facilitate a conversation with the landlord so I can understand what his concerns are. And if they're valid and they're great, awesome. But I'm hoping I can address some of his fears and we can reach an agreement. Sure enough, the guy ends up calling me, negotiates for a very long time with me to get a premium on the rent, about double what he was asking. And we got our first location. And so that got us into cannabis. We started out with 2 employees in one store, kept reinvesting, and then we eventually sold the company in 2021. We had 5 locations and 85 employees at that time, and we sold it to a publicly traded company. And here we are now.
Nice. And it's my pleasure to have you here. So thank you very much. Not only are you guests on the podcast, you're also clients, right? So that's awesome. Now let's go into, all right. So you're done with the cannabis store. You sell that, you make a killing. And now how do you get into real estate?
Jill, you want to take that?
Well, yes, absolutely. The way we got into real estate is truly because we had a big capital gains that we needed a place to put that, basically a place to put in all that money to invest. So that's how we got started. But our first deal was we actually got our first property when we were still in cannabis. So basically, and it's actually a really funny story. So again, with the licensing in Portland, we really wanted to get a building in Portland, but all the dispensaries have to be at least 1,000 feet apart. But it's really hard to find these places that are 1,000 feet apart, owned outright, have all the other, like they're away from residences and other churches, schools, things like that. So we literally parked at a dispensary, got in our car, had one of those like jogging trackers on, and like literally watched it. And then like when it hit 1,000 feet, we just looked over and there was this building that was like available. So we called the guy, negotiated a price. And then we didn't have any money to do that. Alicia, do you want to tell how we were able to raise that?
Yeah. To add to that, there wasn't a sign on the building. It didn't say for sale or for rent. It was just empty. And we thought, we wonder if something's going on with this building here. So we called a realtor friend of ours, and he basically figured out who the owner of the building was, called the owner, and he said, it's really funny that you're calling me because I'm selling the building. And I got an offer, but I told them that what my asking price was. I think it was like $540 or something, but they came in at $500 when they told me they were going to give me a full ask offer. So if you guys can come to me with an offer within 24 hours, I'll hold off on this deal. They looked at each other and were like, oh my God, how are we going to fund this $550,000 property?
It's like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, we don't have money. We don't have great credit. We were just like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Our attorney had a friend that was a hard money lender, which we didn't even know what that was at the time. And we're like, okay, so we go have a meeting with him, and he's like, I'll lend to you guys at 12% interest with a point every 6 months, but you need to come in with 20% of the deal. And we're just smiling and okay. And I'm like looking at Jill.
Absolutely.
How the hell are we going to come up with 20%? So I just was like, all right, we had another investor that had considered investing in we were going to do a grow operation, and we had given them the pro forma, all the financials, what the business plan was. We ended up not making that move, but we built a good relationship with him. So I called him and said, I'm wondering if I just offered some crazy interest rate. I was like, will you loan us like $150,000 for 15%? And he was like, I very rarely ever get offered 15%. He's okay, sure. So Jill's mom was with us. I couldn't believe this was all unfolding within a matter of hours. We still were a little short. So then I had to call another family member's parents of an employee that worked for us, because I told him what was going on. He's like, my parents might be interested too. Gave him the same deal. Sure enough, we locked in the hard money loan and 2 investors within just a few hours, made the offer, and then got our first property. So that's how we got that property.
That's awesome. How many times do we talk about you find the deal and the money will find its way?
Absolutely.
That is so true.
Time, right? So now we're talking about that. Now there was really no repair to be done with this, but you did have to do some remodeling, right?
Yeah, that's what we needed actually a lot of the extra money for. It had to be retail ready, right? So it was nice. It didn't have a lot of issues with the building per se. It didn't have an air conditioning system, for example, because in Oregon, not every building just has that, but we knew as a retail space, we needed that.
Yeah.
That we had issues with parking in a parking lot, and then we had to just outfit it. And to outfit a retail space is expensive because you get really nice cases and signs and stuff. And so, yeah, it costs a significant amount of money to open up a store. So that's what we did, was use the other money to fund that.
Awesome. And then when you got done, now it's based on income, right? By the time you're done, did you get a reevaluation because it's a commercial space and find how much did you How much was it actually worth after you finished all that?
Do you want to take that, Jill?
So the thing is, you still can't get funding on
Right.
cannabis, and it's still leased to the company that bought us. So what we did was, and I know people are going to think we're crazy, but we paid it off when we sold the company again because we had to we needed places for this money to go essentially. So we did that, and then we have a really great rent. What's really funny is the rent was set to pay off this insane hard money monthly, like rent or mortgage payment that we had. So the rent is like honestly like astronomical, which is great for us. But so it actually ended up being like probably our best investment to date.
Yeah. So we've never evaluated what it's worth because we've actually never refinanced it.
Yeah.
Now that we know about DSCR loans and some different types of lending, we may consider it, but it's just, we own it. We don't need that cash. And it's such a large amount every month that we're like, and they pay taxes and insurance on it. So it's a triple net lease. So we're just kind of, right now, we don't
Yeah.
need it.
So you don't have to do anything. Like they're going to maintain the building, take care of the
Yeah.
taxes, take care of the interest and all the insurance and all that. So
That's the best I would say is that they've never asked us for one
To do
reason
anything.
in 2 years. And when we had our dispensaries too, it's this weird thing. It's like you don't want to burden your landlords for some reason because it's such a kind of already they feel like in a way they're doing you a favor, even though you're paying a premium. And so just
Right.
like we pretty much never asked for any tenant improvements, neither have they.
okay. So now what's the cash flow on that? Or do you not
It-
want to disclose that because it's high?
It is. It's very
It's
high.
it's around 15,000 a month.
Okay. For you. That's everybody's wish, right?
Yeah.
The majority of people that I ask, what's your number? What's your financial freedom number? They're like 10,000
Yeah,
a month. You
yes.
guys nailed it on the first one, right?
Yes, we did get really lucky.
Now, is there an exit strategy or are you just going to ride that?
We want to see if they ever needed to move buildings or something. I don't know if we could get that same rent again. If it's
Mhm.
not going to be leased to cannabis, I don't think it'd be that high. So we just want to obviously sell it in an up market, but since it's paid off, it's not like a huge worry if we
Mhm.
got less rent for a while till we could wait till the market to go up.
Right.
So we
Okay.
just want to see. I don't know what Portland's market like is like right now at all.
Okay, great. Now, let's go on to the nightmare deal. What is your worst deal ever?
I want to just preface the fact that when you want to get into real estate, I just want to stress the importance of education because we were in a time crunch to try to deploy our capital gains tax, like Jill was talking about. Yes, back on the topic of education, go see Bud, go find somebody that can help you learn how to analyze deals and don't make the mistakes that we made, which was just trying to acquire properties quickly. So we got a deal from New Western, and basically at the time it was really on the swing of where the market was just skyrocketing. And
Yeah.
we saw an offer for a property that was about an hour and a half outside of Austin, Texas, in a town called Temple. And I think the ask was like 119,000. So I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I haven't seen properties in the 100 forever and nowhere near Austin. So I got so excited. I told Jill, hey, we got to go check this property out. And when we walked in it, the layout was really cute. And I thought this would be a great rental because if we can get 1,400, we're only paying 120. We're getting close to the dollar rule or whatever. And everyone said, like a lot of real estate agents and just investors say it's very hard to cash flow and more of an appreciation play. But I was like, hey, this is an opportunity we have here. So then with New Western, you're rushed. So you have to make a decision. And we saw other people looking at it and it was first come, first serve. And so it smelled the worst cat piss. And
Oh, so bad.
Like, the smell was just like, oh my God, it was so bad. But I was like, I think we can get rid of that. And I didn't have much time to really look around and I wasn't that experienced at the time. I like to call it the house of mass destruction because there literally pretty much wasn't one thing that didn't need to get fixed in the house. So I thought it was just going to be cosmetic. Oh my God. So the first major thing is the toilet it kind of flushes, but it doesn't really flush. It's taken a long time. It's seeming a little bit weird. And so I think it's just a plumbing issue. So I have a plumber look, they don't really find anything out. And we change out some of the stuff to PVC and we're trying to update some of it. And then I'm like, this still isn't working right. And they're like, let's scope the sewer line. And sure enough, It was such a long line to get to the city. It was like hundreds of feet. It was just going forever. And you're seeing the camera going on one guy, and he's okay. It looks okay. We have some growth here. It looks okay. And then we hit clay. We hit old clay piping that just basically had completely collapsed that feeds into the city. And so we had to redo into the neighbor's yard, or maybe even two neighbors' yards that we were responsible for, this new sewer line. And so we called the city to try to get them to cover it. They were like, no way, you got to fix it. And so that was a huge expense. And then we had what I thought was a really cool tree, this humongous tree in the back. It turned out that the thing had fallen and regrown and was completely rotted. There were termites everywhere in it. And I hired a tree company to come cut it down. And as they were cutting one of the branches, the entire thing fell before they were done and took out the whole power line and then ripped the meter off the house. And so at that point, the electrical was so outdated that their electricians were basically like, you're going to just have to run new stuff. Like, we don't even have this stuff anymore, like squirrels and eating a bunch of the wires and stuff. So then I had to replace the panel inside and out, all new electrical, and then the foundation. So this is another mistake. Please do not make this mistake. Foundation looked a little funny to me, but I thought, it's just going to run it out. It's all right. But as I spent a little more time, and I was like, oh man, this foundation is real wonky. So I had already paid to do the drywall and the paint and make it real nice, the trim, cabinets, and then realized I had to do the foundation. So then when we came and we replaced all the piers, I mean, you walked in there was like cracks the size of lightning bolts after we did the foundation. Everything brand new, right? Even the cabinets wouldn't shut because the foundation had made it so janky. We needed a new HVAC system, a new garage door. I mean, it was just thing after new water heater. So that was the worst deal we ever did. So what we did was we ended up making it very cute, and we leased it out. We get about $1,300 a month, but we were all in that deal for $185. So that was not a good deal. Long term, we think that it's going to appreciate really well and rents will continue to increase, which is why we've held on to it. But yeah, educate yourself and make sure you know about construction before you do something like that.
When we're working with wholesalers, we really have to investigate those numbers and make sure that we're all good to go. But you're out of it. You're not cash flowing on the property, but you are appreciating because it is in that hot Austin market. And even though it's cooling off a little bit, it's going to go back up again. That place is a pendulum. And it swings like this much on this side, and then it goes all the way back up. So what are you working on now? What are your current projects?
Jill, you want to?
Well, we did. Yeah, sure. So we just finished up 2 projects, actually, which is a midterm rental, 3-2 in Kyle, Texas, which is about 15 minutes south of Austin. It's 25 minutes to get to downtown Austin. So a lot of people can use it as like a commuter place. We're already booked out for a couple of midterm stays, which is really exciting. The other thing we just wrapped up was a property we're going to turn into a Section 8 property in Coppers Cove, Texas, which is near Fort Hood in Texas for any military folk. And and so we just wrapped that was 3-1, and it's going on the market soon.
Awesome. Great.
We're just trying a little bit of everything, as you can see.
And another one of our mutual friends, Jennifer Ortiz, works down in that area. She's retired military. Actually, I think she moved out there now, but she was in Louisiana. You've been through cannabis, you've got long-term rental, you've got a midterm rental, and you've done flips. So what would you say is your niche?
We've always been under the impression that we really want to have as many doors as possible as buy and holds, no matter what type of avenue we're taking with them, because we see real estate as a long-term investment. I think flips are great for income and cash flow when you need cash. So we want to really have that mindset of we're going to wholesale, we're going to flip, and then the majority of the things that we're going to do are going to be to acquire properties. We have a short-term rental in Fredericksburg, Texas that cash flows tremendously for us. It's just we're trying to figure out what do we like the most that has the least headaches and gives us the most cash flow. And so this particular property in Section 8, I'm very excited about because the purchase price was $90,000. We put about $20,000 into it. The ARV is going to be about $140,000, and we think the allowance is $1,650 a month on that. So if we actually find a tenant, we literally just got our pictures back today. They look great. So we're going to start marketing it today and tomorrow. So if we actually do that and that works, I like that because hopefully it won't be as many
Yeah.
headaches. We have found that when we have long-term tenants, for the most part, we haven't had very many headaches. But the short term, we've had a lot of headaches. The midterm may be the
We're
same
not
thing,
sure
you know.
yet.
So yeah, so we're just trying to really, we want to give it some time because we're younger investors. We've only been doing this almost 2 years, and so we just want to see what we like the best.
So are you using property management for the midterm, or are you going to use it for the Section 8 for the long term?
So we have property managers for our short term and for our other long term properties. However, because the midterm is only 15 minutes from our house, we were actually there today right before we came home and we were putting out the Keurig coffee pods and leaving all the snacks and getting it make ready. We're going to do it ourselves at first because if people are doing these 30-day plus stays, we don't think it's a huge inconvenience. And then we have cleaners that we actually work with on our at our house that are great and could do that. So we're going to give that a try on our own. And I actually think with Section 8, I'm going to try it myself as well because I have a great contractor in that area, in the Fort Hood area, that every time, basically my property manager calls him to fix things anyways. So I'm like, I'm just going to call him myself. I know what I've done to these properties. I don't think I'm going to have that many problems. So I'm going to give it a go.
Well,
Great.
also with the Section 8 stuff, it's like that might be a business model we want to really scale. Just because I like two of the things is that it's guaranteed money from the government, but also my understanding is like in a rent moratorium, you'd probably still be fine, right?
Yep. Yeah, or at least for the state's contributions. Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're thinking. That could be a really scalable model, which is why we want to run it ourselves for a
Mhm.
couple properties to just see. We always felt like with our business, like if we understand the basics of a position, we can tell somebody how our vision is and how we want things to be run. So that's why we're going to start out that way. And then if it's terrible, then we'll get someone else to do it and figure something else out. But we want to try it first so we kind of understand the process.
So I had a single one property that I was managing for a while, and just to remind myself how bad it actually was to manage a long-term rental. And then I decided to start a property management company,
Oh, wow.
which I thought that 10 times, maybe 10 units we got in there, 10 times the headache. No, 10,000 times the headache. All right, that's it. We're
Really?
turn it all over. Let's get another property manager in here who has the bandwidth to handle it. And if there is any question on what to ask a property manager, if somebody's listening or somebody's watching this on YouTube, go to budevans.com. All right. So now, ladies, what do you have on the horizon?
The next thing that we want to do is do something really brazen, which is actually try to do a flip in this market in Austin or Dallas. I felt really inspired by Jamil last night. And I agree that relationships are absolutely key because I just don't see myself cold calling a bunch of sellers. I'm very good at networking and making long lasting relationships with folks. And so I think I want to take that approach. And it was so funny because I was driving around our neighborhood. It's a very unique neighborhood where we live in Austin. It incorporated in the 1970s. And so there's only 600 people here, but we have a mayor and a city council. And it's just this really cool area. And I saw a mid century modern house that's been sitting vacant. I'm friends with the mayor. I said, "What's going on with this house?" She said, "Let me introduce you to the woman that's going to be selling it, that has not sold it." So I had this amazing conversation with this woman today. It turns out she's a developer. She's done 130 houses in the last decade of tearing stuff down and building from scratch. And she was going to do it at that house. And then it's not in her wheelhouse. It's not in the area code or the zip code that she normally does this in. And it's really in our wheelhouse of taking these weird old houses and making them super cool and funky. So we're
Yeah.
meeting with her tomorrow, and she already told me what she wants and that she can give me a much better deal if we don't go through agents. And so I'm going to see if the numbers work and do that. So I think we're going to be working on some flips, taking some cash, and we're sitting for a second just to see, does Section 8 actually pan out in the way that we want? And I do want people to know, too, that are doing Section 8. The one thing that I didn't understand at first until Bud taught me was I thought that if you looked at the HUD website and you saw what the going rate was, that's what you were guaranteed to make from somebody. And I now know that's not the case. Somebody has to be approved for that amount or be able to afford the difference. So I just want people to know that when you're running those numbers, it's really important to know the little city that you're in, the zip code, because even Dallas, for example, will say that it has these great rates, but then you call the local office and
Yeah.
it's actually by zip code, and they have 100 zip codes in Dallas. So just be mindful of that. So if this actually does work out, I think we're going to start doing a lot more Section 8 properties as buy and holds.
I'm either commercial, multifamily, smaller ones, or I'm stone cold Trenton, New Jersey, Section 8 properties.
That's
Them out for
amazing.
1950, that type of thing.
And those numbers are so nice.
Yeah, they're not bad at all. All right, what is one thing you have learned as you increase your wealth?
Well, I guess I'll tell you like two things is that money really it's like it just gives you like runway to whatever your next project is. And I think as any business owner needs to just understand that any amount of money is not really probably going to make you like happy like internally, but it will get you to where you're trying to go next. And at least for me, like being an entrepreneur, it's always been more about I've always been motivated by watching something grow. Like just seeing the company grow, the money came with it, but seeing the company grow is where like the most pride. It's like the anticipation of seeing what's going to happen next month and like how things are going to evolve. That's what's really exciting. And I think like getting a big chunk of money was great. It was definitely like a reward for a lot of years of hustling, but it's like after it, I still craved the growth. That's what I missed about it. And that's why I think like we're getting back into this slowly, or it feels slowly, even though we have a decent handful of doors. It's just, I guess all I'm saying is, I think if you're a true entrepreneur, you're still going to want all of those things, even if you have the money.
Yeah. And I want to add one more thing. If you are bad with money when you're broke, you're going to be bad with money when you're rich. Okay. So
That's also true.
we were not financially savvy. We're just hustler entrepreneurs, see opportunity, we take risks, and we love the grind. I know so much more now, and it just comes back to education. And an investor friend told me when we first got our money, he was like, look, don't do anything for a year. Man, I did 20 things that
No.
year. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I didn't follow that advice, and I should have followed
We
that
bet.
advice. We just did ridiculous things. So now, we've really reeled it back. And I want true financial freedom, meaning I don't ever want to have to worry about money again forever. And I want to know that my mom is taken care of, that our children are taken care of when they get older. I want my daughter to be able to do her passion and not be motivated solely by money for whatever it is she decides to do in her profession. And so you have to learn how to be financially savvy, and you have to learn how to get deals and analyze numbers. Those are so important.
I love that. If you're not good with money when you're broke, you will not be good with money. Good day, high flyers. Are you ready to take your real estate investments sky high? Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today, and we'll help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook. Just click the link down in the show notes. The best part, it's completely free to join. I help new real estate investors overcome the fear of failure and achieve generational wealth through buying rental properties. Go to budevans.com and book a call with me to find out why we guarantee your first rental property. Thanks. Now back to the show. Are you ready? We're going to move on to the Soaring Four. The Soaring Four are the same four questions we ask every guest that can help someone who is just starting out achieve new heights. First question is, what do you use to keep you motivated?
I've learned so much about self-growth through this process because I too, like so many other people, thought if I had money or if I only made $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month or if I only had $1 million that I would be happy. And I've learned that is absolutely not the case. And it's almost harder when you're comfortable to feel motivated. When I was motivated because I had to be able to afford a bagel at the corner store or whatever. A lot of self-reflection and understanding why I'm doing this helps keep me motivated. But I have to have things in alignment. Like when I meditate, it helps with my anxiety. when I take my supplements and I exercise, it all just helps so much. If I'm slacking on those things, then I don't feel the motivation. So I have to
Mhm.
just force myself, even on the bad days, to just get up. Even if I hit the Peloton 5, 10 minutes, it gets my blood flow going, and then it really helps me with that motivation.
I think the two things that motivate me the most is I always start and end my day writing things that I'm grateful for and like looking back on the things that were like the highlights of my day. And then that's really good because I find myself like during the day being like, oh my God, this is like such a nice moment. This will probably be like the best part of my day or something like that. It makes you more positive. It allows you to see things more positively, which is really good and also makes you see opportunities everywhere else for like good things to happen versus if you're not feeling good, you're like in a tunnel of only seeing like bad things or not seeing opportunities. The other thing is, I follow all the people on the Instagram, all the like famous real estate investors, and I think to myself, if they can do this, so can I. 100%. Like I am the same kind of hustler. I have been hustling. We've owned businesses for, I don't know, like 18 years now. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to go. Like, I just have to decide what I'm going to do. And as soon as I figure out what that is, we're going to hit it and then just go for it. So I just always feel like if somebody is doing it, if I can see somebody else doing it, we can do it also.
Perfect. What is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
It's a good one. I think a lot of it is really the time for money thing. And that's just like an entrepreneur thing, realizing if you trade time for money, you're probably like not going to be happy your whole life because you're going to be missing out on things that are important to you. And so for me, like realizing like after we sold the business, we had a lot of time, more time than we had had in years. Like I had been hustling and staying up late and working like crazy hours for years and years to just get this thing popping. And then all of a sudden I had all this time and I realized like, oh wow, I'm not like missing out. Like I'm seeing my family, I'm getting to dinner, I'm like on time, I'm like making the phone calls. Like this is really nice. And I realized, okay, I've got to set up my I've got to set up my life differently. Where like time is the most valuable asset. Yes, money, absolutely, but like figuring out how to have the time to learn. Like having the opportunity to learn is like something I'm grateful for all the time, to be able to sit and read a book or listen to a podcast. Some people don't even have time to do any of those things. So it's like you have to realize your ability or your opportunity to learn is it's such a gift. So for me, just realizing how much time is important and how little we have of it, you need to spend it in a really like, you need to spend it how you want to spend it. Because so many people just think that it's just like endless, but it's truly not. So that was probably a big mindset shift for me, which is why real estate also became more interesting. It's not that it's completely passive, but there are opportunities for it to be passive. And I think it's opportunities to like build in a really great and huge way, although you can still be passive. So that was very unique to real estate, which made it also really attractive.
Time is
For
the one
mine,
commodity that can't be bought. You can sell it, but you can never get it back.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, Alicia, I
no,
interrupted.
no. I think for me, I think I thought of success in a very still way. That if I arrived, everything would be okay and I would be happy. And what I realized is that comfort is actually like the most uncomfortable thing. And when I realized that I was just kind of floating and doing the bare minimum, I was comfortable, so I just eat what I wanted. I was comfortable, so I'd do the minimum exercise. I was comfortable thinking I was already educated and smart, so I didn't need to read a lot. I was just like floating in this zone of comfort. And then what I realized one day was like, I need to make myself uncomfortable because the only thing that really truly drives me and makes me happy is growth. I can't feel like I'm the same for even Jill and I are the same for 4 hours. If we don't feel like we move forward in some way that day or something has changed or evolved, we just get depressed. So I've learned that I have to continuously try new things and put myself in uncomfortable positions to actually be happy. Because just doing the same thing and being comfortable doesn't make me happy.
Public speaking is not my forte, believe it or not. So what do? Start a podcast, a YouTube channel, start coaching and getting on to boot camps and teaching 85 to 100 people on a weekend for 2 days. So what are some tools you use to keep you on track?
I try to, so if I like showed you my to-do list, it's long and it's embarrassing. There's so many things on it. So what I have to do, and it's really hard because like I am so shiny object, man. If somebody is like, hey, I used to like never, when we had the 5 stores and we had 85 employees, we had to stop going up to the store because what happened, you go up and then everybody be like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And of course I'm like, sure. And then all of a sudden you just had to drop something off or pick up some money or something. And then all of a sudden you're there for 6 hours. That's like my life now is like my to-do list is if I see like I have to basically be like, okay, I need to accomplish what 4 things or 3 things have to get done today. And typically they're the ones I don't want to do the most. They probably don't even take that long. They're just going to make me uncomfortable. So it's like I have to look at those and be like, what's going to make me most uncomfortable on this list? Because that's probably what's most important. So really, it's not anything fancy for me. It's just trying to get through these lists, but prioritizing in a way that's like effective.
Alicia, what do you got?
Yeah. So for me, I've had an issue with that because like Jill, our minds are just so scattered and we feel like there's so many things that we need to do. And so I have found that having this routine of meditation and exercise gets my mind in the right place. I'll give you one example. Before we started the dispensaries, we actually owned this company where we would set up these trade-in programs for electronics for big retail stores. So for example, if you went into a Best Buy, you had an old phone that you wanted to trade in, we would like white label that software, pay Best Buy, and then sell it on the back end, right? And so we would have to go and present to these huge companies, Walgreens, the post office. We did all this stuff, right? And so I'd get really nervous before each presentation. And I realized that if I just went on the treadmill for 10 minutes that morning in the hotel before I went to the meeting, instead of the nervous, freaky, calm energy, I had this very deliberate, confident energy instead that was more effective and I was more calm. And so I still try to apply that every day in life. And I started doing goal setting, and basically we try to set three to five major goals a week, keep track of them and score them and just try to stay on track. So I do think just writing down what you want to do for the week, but not writing down too much because sometimes you really won't. You just have to figure out if there were only 5 things that could happen this week, what are those things? And then you focus on those things.
Yeah, great. Gino Wickman calls them the rocks, right? If you had to start over, what is one thing that you would change?
I would have learned how to analyze deals better first, understand comps and deals, and like what my strategy is. Because something that I understand now, and this is going to be Jill and I's only focus, it literally is only about the deal. Because if you have a good deal, you can wholesale it, you can remodel it and flip it, you can hold it as a long term, you can hold it as a short term, you can hold it as a midterm. If you find the deal and all of those things work, you're going to be successful and find the path that's best for you. So I would have just learned more first and gotten guidance before I just jumped in.
I agree. I think that it's like I say that too, but it's like now we're deep into, we have all these different things going on. We went through the house of mass destruction. And truthfully, I think sometimes you just learn best when you fall on your face, which sucks. But my forehead is like super flat from hitting it on the ground so many times at this point. But it's like you do learn a lot from those situations where all of a sudden, those are the things that like make the crease in your brain to be like, nope, don't do that again. Do not do that again. Yes, I think, but absolutely. As far as like, we need to figure out the best way to get a high volume of deals. One thing we did with the dispensary, and I bring this back because eventually at the end of the day, we become like this sort of like distribution model in a way, right? Because if you've got 5 stores, you've got 300 transactions a day. That's, I don't know. At the end of it, I think we were probably serving like 5,000-6,000 people a month per location, something like that. So if you think about that in the numbers game of real estate, if you could be maybe talking to 30, 40, 50 people a week, maybe you're talking to 200 people a month, even if 10% of those things actually get to one stage, 5% actually come through. It's a numbers game. It's just trying to fill your funnel as much as you can. And then wherever those things fall to, whether you want to do wholesale flips, whatever, at that point you can buy and hold, Section 8, short-term MTRs, whatever, you can figure it out, but you just have to fill your funnel up as much as you can. And so I think that's what we have to figure out is how do we get the highest deal flow, which every real estate investor wants to know that.
There's no secret sauce. It's grind.
Yeah.
How many people did you talk to this week? How many agents? How many wholesalers? How many sellers if you're cold calling? We were doing 10,000 names per month. We would get 1,000 prospects, 10 leads, 10 their actual walkthroughs, and then we might wind up with 5 deals.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is a massive numbers game. And that's not a lot, believe it or not. Yeah, great.
I think about that too. That was another thing that was like an aha moment for me, was like, okay, if the average Section 8 property is netting you, I guess cash flowing you, okay, $100 a month, and I want to use that toward my living. Gosh, if I only got 20 properties, that's $10,000 a month. Well, if I have 20, why couldn't I do 50? Why couldn't I do 100? And now if I have 100 properties, now I'm making 50K a month. So I started to realize that it's just a numbers game. If you do all of the other things right and the deal is there and your numbers are right, then it's just about plug and play as far as making that money. And so that's changed my mindset a lot.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to be a part of that too, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, we've learned so much from you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Star students, you guys walked in with this huge amount of experience and it was so easy. You guys are fantastic.
Thanks.
But I just have to give you props because I had seen a lot of the coaches and different people speak. And as soon as I saw you watch one of your presentations or videos, and I was like, he's got to be my coach. He's not going to take any BS. I love that he's a quick talker. He explains things super well. I need that. And I was like, I got to have him. And I actually asked, Sonia, if I was like, I want Coach Bud. She's like, all right, go check his calendar. See, you know what you can do.
Nice.
And so I'm just so happy. I've learned so much from you. And not only in real estate, but just you as a human being. Like Jill and I truly do aspire to be like you in a lot of ways. We think that you really have it down, from personal growth, inspired by how many books you decided to read in a year and things like that. We got Audible. We're killing it now. We're like on the road listening to books. And so thank you for inspiring us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And it really is a pleasure. That is like the high point of my day, getting on a coaching call and having a conversation with somebody who actually wants to do what I'm doing and giving me the opportunity to give back.
Are you an aspiring real estate investor hungry for success? You want to land that first big deal, but you don't know where to start? Are you curious how to buy real estate with little or no money down? Many aspiring real estate investors don't know where to start. They often feel overwhelmed with questions and doubts about where to get started, but that's where I come in. Through our comprehensive coaching program, you'll gain a solid foundation in finance, property sourcing, and the essential skills needed to excel in the world of real estate investing. And here's the best part. We guarantee that by the end of the first 10 calls, you will have your first rental property, or we'll continue to coach you until you get it. The best part? That is absolutely free. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. DM me at Bud Evans on Instagram with the word coach, or go to budevans.com to learn more and start your journey to achieving generational wealth. Thanks. Now back to the show.
Ladies, that's it. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
It is an absolute pleasure.
Yes,
right.
This is great.
For those of you who are listening or watching on YouTube, until the next time we meet, aim high.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey there, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something new today. If you did, please show us some love and smash that like button. Your support means everything to us and helps us reach more people like you who want to aim high in real estate. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell icon so that you can stay up to date on all of our future content. If you're hungry for more real estate and finance related videos, we've got you covered. Check out this video by clicking on the screen. Thanks for being a part of the Aim High community. Your support drives us to create valuable content, and we can't wait to see your success stories in real estate investing. Until next time, aim high, never stop learning. Bud Evans signing off. We'll see you soon.